All right, good morning. How's everyone doing? Hopefully a little better than me. My voice is a little raw. I think it was a little loud downstairs in that movable ink party last night, but I'll do my best. I've got my water here. So thanks, Steve. As you mentioned, my name is Jessica. I am a senior product manager of CRM at Match. I manage kind of content, strategy, personalization tactics, and we're working on building on our existing personalization as well as looking into the future to see what's next for Match using the interactive inbox. So I'm going to kind of take you through our journey. And just to start, in case you've been married for the last 22 years, give you a quick background on Match. We are the largest dating site in the world. We launched in 1995, so we've been around for a while. And to be successful on Match, you really have to provide us with an extensive amount of information about yourself, who you're looking for. So I think we're a little unique in that we do have a pretty good idea of who our subscriber base is. Match is a subscription business, so to get the most out of your subscription or out of the service, you need to purchase a subscription. And we're across multiple platforms, so desktop, mobile web, and the apps. And then a little about our CRM program. So we have kind of three pillars of programs, or three pillars of campaigns in our program. Lifecycle marketing, so that includes our engagement, conversion, retention, and win-back campaigns. There's a social aspect to online dating also. So member-to-member communications, people showing interest in each other, things like that. And then we also have an events product. So we have online webinars as well as offline events that we support from a CRM perspective. So we send real-time invites, and then there's a life cycle component with that as well. And we are a multi-channel team. So as a product owner, I build both push and email campaigns. And I'll just talk within this presentation about email, but happy to talk with anybody about what we're doing on the push side also. And so, that's our program. But as we look towards the future, we kind of ask ourselves, who do we want to be? Who do we want to be for our members within the Match community? And so, we want to be a smart, nurturing, revenue-driving force. And so what does that mean for us? As I mentioned, we have a lot of information about our members. And so it's really important that we use that to build programs and segment and personalize in a way that makes sense to the place where our users are at in their journey. And on top of that, creating segmentation and propensity models to really drive revenue. So on the nurturing side, I think online dating and just dating in general is a little bit vulnerable for people. And I think that's something that as a CRM program, we really need to keep front and center. It's important that we motivate and educate our members and use the tools that we have as a CRM program to do that. And then lastly, revenue driving. It's really important for our team to make our numbers. I think all of us as marketers have to continue to do that. And one of the main goals is to actually convert those free members into paid subscribers. So that's where we focus a lot of our effort as well. So just, as Match, as a CRM program at Match, we've kind of taken that really highly personalized on-site experience and built it in the inbox. And so we've used lots of personalization tactics to do that. And we're kind of looking forward into 2018 to try to figure out how we're going to continue to be this smart, nurturing, revenue-driving force. So the question we're asking ourselves now is kind of how are we going to get there and how are we going to continue to do that? So those are the areas I'm going to talk with you today about. So contextual merchandising, some tactics we're using there, frequency and cadence. So as I mentioned, we have these social kind of member-to-member emails as well as events that we support. So there's a lot of emails that are going out. And then lastly, touch on the kind of exciting new stuff with interactive inbox. So contextual merchandising. I think we can probably all agree that retailers do a really good job with merchandising in the email. And so we try to take kind of a page from their playbook. We do a lot of mystery offers and flash sales and declining discounts and things like that. So I think when it comes to applying that to our program, because we do have all that data, we're looking at kind of taking that to the next step. So taking that to the next level through extensive segmentation to personalize the content and optimize performance and essentially drive revenue. So I'm just going to share with you an example of one of our promotional campaigns so you can kind of see how we're taking all this data that we have and integrating it into our campaign. So this is just one of our kind of standard discount campaigns. You can see here at the top we have gender-specific imagery. So if you're looking for women, we include pictures of women. If you're looking for men, we'll include men. We have some messaging around geo-targeting. So New York City, we've included messaging there as well as some imagery at the bottom. So that's fairly new. We're testing that out in a handful of markets and actually going to expand that in early January. We also have some offers that are based on your previous purchase behavior as well as your age. So it gets pretty personalized there. And then lastly, that unread message count you see in the middle. That's how we've actually been able to take pretty relevant information that we have on our website about interactions that the users are doing and integrate that into the campaign. So if you have unread messages in your account at Match and you're not a paid member, you can't read them. And so we pull those into the email to kind of incentivize you to try to get you to come back and purchase. If you don't have unread messages, we actually include interest counts. So do you have likes, winks, et cetera, and so we'll pull those in as well. And so by pulling in just those few little metrics about where you're at in your subscription or your membership with us, we're able to increase conversion by 15%. So that was a really big win for us. And all of these tactics have worked really well, but just being able to pull in that little tidbit of information we've seen a great improvement there. And so we're still working on other ways to do that going forward, but that's kind of where we are today. And so the next area that I'll talk through is frequency and cadence. So this is something that we're constantly challenged with. As I mentioned, we have a lot of real-time notifications that go out, and we just have kind of a lot of emails in general. So optimizing timing, combating fatigue, and then identifying channel preference have been kind of three areas where we're looking at there. So when we optimize timing, what we did here was we looked at previous engagement. So when users were opening, engaging with the email as well as engaging on site, as well as looking at kind of profile attributes. So we have this great profile full of information, and how can we use it? So we have a matching email that goes out every day, and this is kind of our bread and butter campaign, and we send it in the morning, or we were sending it in the morning to everyone. It's a pretty extensive kind of resource-heavy campaign, so it is a batch campaign. We can't send it real time because of that. But we looked at when users were opening and engaging, like I said, and then profile attributes, and we found something really interesting. We found that our members with higher education, so a bachelor's degree or higher, were opening and engaging more frequently in the evening. And members that didn't disclose their education or had an education lower than a bachelor's degree were actually opening in the morning. And so we were able to segment and send the email based on these learnings. So that was a really kind of fun, interesting learning that we had there and something that we were able to implement. Combating fatigue, so this is, again, a constant challenge. We've put in some tactics to actually cap our real-time notifications. We've been looking at where users are in their life cycle. So particularly in the first few days that you sign up for Match, you tend to get a lot of attention. And so we found that within the first 72 hours, women get really overwhelmed and inundated with notifications and attention. And so we've actually capped the number of notifications that women get within those first 3 days. Men, on the other hand, like the attention, so they're continuing to get all those emails. And we'll look into other ways to figure out what works for them. But definitely, looking at the behavioral and life cycle as well as gender was important for us. And then lastly, identifying channel. So this is something that we're looking forward to in 2018 and not something that we're really doing now, but we were able to put together a pretty in-depth analysis about how people, which channel people are opening our communications on based on where they registered. So for instance, if you register on the app versus on, say, desktop or mobile web, you're less likely to open our emails. So if you're not opening our emails, why are we sending them to you? And so there's probably other channels, including push, that we would be able to send you, say, real-time notifications. And so in that case, you know, we would create a better user experience, but also help with deliverability on our end, as well as, you know, create just a better inbox experience overall. And those emails that we do continue to send will rise to the top. So, you know, the discount campaigns that we need to send out and things like that. So, you know, I think we've done a pretty good job in our efforts to create these kind of highly personalized experiences for the user. And we've created kind of a strong one-to-one dialogue. And now we're looking at what's next and how are we gonna continue to, you know, personalize and enhance the user's experience. And so, you know, I think the path to effective personalization is changing, and, you know, interactivity has now become part of that equation. You know, and so when we started to explore this, there were a few different directions we were taking. Excuse me. So, you know, we wanted to target an experience that was relevant to our users, that reduced friction in a process, and something that was actionable for them. And so, in addition, we wanted to engage our users who weren't currently engaged in our emails, but were still interested. So, I mean, I don't know about all the other marketers out here, but we have, I think, about 2/3 of our users who open our emails and actually don't even click through. So how could we engage those, you know, 65 to 70% of users to actually interact with us? And so that's kind of the direction we took with our interactivity. And, you know, we decided to start with a behavior that was already familiar to our users, so something that they were familiar with and they had already been doing on site. And I don't know how many people are familiar with the Tinder kind of swipe right feature, but we have one at Match also. It's a little bit different, but it allows people to show interest in other members by just clicking, you know, a yes or a skip button, and they see just a profile photo and a few other attributes about that member. So we decided to kind of take that functionality and then build it into an email. We did a quick kind of evaluation of our email program to determine where this would fit, and it was pretty obvious up front for us, but I think, you know, when we build out these really cool new things, we often think that we need to introduce an entirely new touch point to our members, and I think in this case it was really important for us to integrate it into something that already existed, so it was a familiar experience in a familiar campaign. And so I've mentioned our matching email a few times, and so that was where we decided to kind of pull in this interactivity. It's already one of our most highly personalized campaigns. We have these really intense algorithms that populate all the email or all the matches for you in the email, and you can choose the frequency at which you receive it. You can receive it, you know, daily, 3 times a week, at once a week, and then we've optimized the send time. So we've kind of put a lot into this matching email, so it just made sense for us to bring this new technology in there. So, let's see. So the image here on the left, this is the control. You can have up to 24 matches in here. So this is the mobile version. So you can imagine with 24 matches, just how you'll have to scroll down to see all the different matches. And then on the right, we have the new interactive version. So we increased the photo size. We provided the yes or skip button, so you could tell us if you were interested in that member. And I'll just play a little video here so you can kind of see how it works. So when the user clicks yes or skip, we do have that hooked up to an API, so that's sent over to the site. It was really important for us to have that functionality so that we were still talking to each other, and we created an experience that was kind of seamless between our email and our website. We do have photos there at the bottom. It's kind of a matrix of all the users that are in the email, so if they do want to just go back to the site and learn more about that single person, they can just click through, and they don't have to take the the interactivity and go with that. So we built this behavior, this interaction into this email, and I have to tell you, we just launched this last week, so we have very little data. Yeah, it was a big feat. It took us a few months. We're working with a company called Rebel, who's been great. They have supported us through kind of building the interactivity. We have, like I said, an API hooked up with them. And they're, for the marketers out there that aren't familiar, there's a lot of companies that do like third-party companies that do things like quizzes and shopping carts and surveys in the email. And so this is just a really enhanced quiz. So that was kind of cool to just, take something really basic and make it work for us. And I think that's something really important as you start to explore this technology to keep in mind. So I think the big question is, does it work, right? I'm sure that everybody wants to know. As I said, we just launched last week. And when we built out the technology, I think we knew up front what we're looking for. We're obviously looking for more of those yes ratings or those interests to be sent. And so far we are seeing a 24% increase in interest sent. So it's, out of the gate, that number looks really good. Some things to keep in mind, our click rates are down. So the interaction can only be tracked within the Rebel Mail dashboard, so we don't actually get that information back to us. And so, that's something we knew that up front, but just something to keep in mind. We're also seeing a little bit of impact to other metrics on our site, so other communication metrics, because all of that is happening, all the interaction is happening in the email, there is some impact elsewhere. So that's just something that we have to dig into as we continue to just work with the technology, and like I said, we just launched, so it's really new. But just to kind of give you a few takeaways as you begin to explore your options for interactivity, think outside the box and be creative. Like I said, this is just an enhanced quiz, and I think there are really opportunities out there for marketers to use this technology, but it's not just about, taking what they're providing so literally, and you really just want to make it work for you. And then reduce friction in a process and engage your members. So, think about those 2/3 of users that are not opening your email. How can you really engage them and get them to take action? And then understand what's measurable. Like I said, we knew going into it that we weren't going to be able to track clicks, so seeing that drop in click rates isn't that surprising. But it is just important to know all of that as you move forward. And lastly, actually integrate into an existing campaign. So that, I think, was important. I think this technology is so new. We want our members to interact. We're so excited about it. But I think if we were to have built something totally new that they weren't familiar with, the adoption rate would probably be a lot lower. So I think by taking that kind of Tinder-like functionality, building it into an existing campaign, our members, maybe are a little bit, they adapted a little bit easier. So lastly, iterate. So I wanted to just mention, technology is constantly changing. We actually launched an interactive email back in 2011 with Hotmail Active Views. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but we built this beautiful carousel and all this cool matching stuff in the email. And the technology just wasn't there, and people, weren't picking up on that Hotmail Active View technology. So I think just keeping that in mind, and as things evolve, making sure that that maybe it doesn't work today, but there will be a time, and it's really exciting stuff. So with that, I'll open it up for questions.
Thank you very much. Thanks for sharing those early results. That was really great. Any questions of Jessica and how they're implementing the program?
Yep. Brant Schmitz with Lux. So you guys got a lot of data going on there on the back end. So just quick overview, how do you guys pull in that data? How do you make it work for you across your email campaigns?
Yeah, so we primarily use an in-house and in-home system. So it's actually really easy, and our data is all in-house too. So it's actually pretty easy for us to get access to all of that data. I have a dedicated dev team that I work with and a QA team. So, all that personalized segmentation, I know I probably shouldn't say this, but it's really easy for, for us to pull it in because we do have so much support. So I think that that's probably the key to it all, is just having the dedicated resources to be able to do that.
Hi, Bart from Total Wine. So my question for you is, in thinking about how to do this in the past from my side, I felt obligated to try and mimic the web experience as much as possible. So I'm curious how you approach that with the treatment. Is that what your customers are used to seeing when they log into their account and do it online?
Yeah, so that's a great question. There is not swipe technology in the emails yet. So when we built this, we weren't actually able to build like a swipe right or a swipe left. And so we did have to build out buttons. But the color scheme, the size of the photos, the information that's displayed is consistent. But it would have been great if, we could have built something where it's just swipe right and swipe left. There is some limitations still in what kind of content we can put in the module. So that's limited on the Rebel side, but the experience itself is similar, but definitely not exactly the same.
Jessica, we really appreciate it. Thank you very
so
much.
much.